And here is Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill from New Jersey on a Facebook Live yesterday with an allegation that I imagine is going to be investigated. Here it is.
Because we can't have a democracy if we have a president who incites violence to overturn the results. We can't have a democracy if too many members of our police force and our military are acting to overturn it and undermine it. We can't have a democracy if members of Congress are actively helping the president overturn the election results. And so not only do I intend to see that the president is removed and never runs for office again and doesn't have access to classified material, I also intend to see that those members of Congress who embedded him, those members of Congress who had groups coming through the Capitol that I saw on January 5th, a reconnaissance for the next day, those members of Congress that incited this violent crowd, those members of Congress that attempted to help our president undermine our democracy. I'm going to see that they're held accountable, and if necessary, ensure that they don't serve in Congress. And so I thank all of you for your support. I thank everyone who's reached out over the last couple days to check in, make sure I'm doing okay, make sure my family's okay. I sincerely appreciate it. Because I know this is a scary time. I know a lot of you are concerned and scared about where this country's headed. But I invite you to join me in my faith in this country. My faith that democracy will continue to prevail. That our children
this is good.
Are going to enjoy this.
The pablum. Can you put that that tweet was taken down? There was a pitch.
Yeah, it was taken down.
Okay. And now the big, of course, allegation in that is that there were members of Congress who were bringing people around the Capitol as basically reconnaissance, so that they had an awareness of what was where in the Capitol.
It should not be shocking that QAnon members of Congress are sympathetic to the QAnon insurrectionists. I mean, they may not have known explicitly what was going to go down, but we're getting this drip of information about the complicity of Republican members of Congress in at least an aspect of what happened. Not all of them, but potentially some of them, and it's not confirmed yet. But like, there is, where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire here. And as we learn more and more, we can't get tired of holding them accountable, because that's going to be key. Like, there are so many different responses to the violence that we saw last week. One of them is Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden asking for more domestic terror laws, which is the exact opposite of what we need. We already have a ton of terrorism laws on the books. We do not need more tools at our disposal to crack down with our police state on terror. And obviously that will be used at one point against Black and brown people in this country. There's not, and left-wing groups, not even a question. The real focus needs to be on holding the powerful people who legitimized this at the very least, and potentially even aided in this.
Yeah, I mean,
accountable. That is the number one focus of the left. That's what should be. Definitely not increasing our surveillance state, please.
I still find it hard to believe that there were members of Congress who provided operational support for this. If that's the case, these people, they need to go to jail. Obviously, and it brings things to a completely different level. But then you do have the culpability of those, senators and frankly congresspeople who voted to not certify this election, knowing full well. Now, look, if they were talking about a specific moment, like if there was, like, even if there was like a single court case that showed there was even an insignificant amount of voter fraud, I think you could justify voting to decertify in that instance, maybe in the House more than in the Senate, because look, there's a difference.
And
Context
you could justify
matters.
it in the court of law.
But there were 50, 60, 70 court cases that were all basically thrown out by all stripes of judges, basically going like, this is not the case. It was certified by Republicans in Georgia. I mean, state after state. Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, they knew what they were doing. And you make them pay a political price. You make them pay a political price because, not because they miscalibrated. They weren't necessarily looking for people to charge the Capitol building. They were looking to build political cachet. But the fact is, they knew what they were doing was false, and they were playing with fire, and a lot of people got burnt, and they have to pay the price. That's just the reality of it. And they should be kicked out of Congress, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, that's like very valuable information from Mikie Sherrill there. So
we'll see. I imagine that'll be investigated, and but it is quite an allegation.